everyone. This picture was chosen because I know you all want to get to that day of graduation and be successful counselors, receive your LPCAs, have a good experience, and really touch people's lives. And so part of that is looking at our dispositions, which is how we handle certain circumstances, honestly. And that makes or breaks a counselor. So I'm going to go over this because from this point forward, your professors are going to be asked to evaluate dispositions and to make sure that you don't need to do some extra training in an area so that you can be the best counselor that you want to be. So let's start getting into some of those dispositions. As some of you can recognize, this is the CCS-R. What we've done is we've taken the second section of it because the second section is really about those personal qualities of a counselor. And so we'll have your name on there, the semester, what program you're in. And this is a strictly faculty evaluation, what they see when you are entering their classroom, what they see is with regards to how you interact. This is not part of your grade in class. This is not going to be used as a support for participation points. What this is used for is strictly an evaluation tool so that you can become the best that you can become as a counselor. And so I don't want you to be concerned about this. In all of our jobs, we have a certain level of evaluation. Even working for myself in a private practice, my evaluation was whether or not my clients came back. Whether that was next week, 2 weeks, or, we solved the issue and they came back a year or two later because they had something else that they needed to discuss. So in the practice of counseling, your goal is to work with your clients and help them reach their goal, as well as have them come back when they need to. You don't want them dependent on you. That would be unhealthy. But that they know that they can go and talk to you and trust you. And a lot of that has to do with our dispositions, how we represent ourselves professionally. And that starts now in your classrooms. I know that's hard to believe, but really, through your graduate program, you should be growing and you should be excelling in all areas, not just the academics. The academics is important. Being able to pass that CPCE and NCE is important. But ultimately, being able to treat people with common kindness, compassion, respect in all areas, no matter what the situation, that's a skill that has to be learned. And so this is a tool that hopefully will help you learn those skills. And then by the time you get to your clinical and practicum, or your practicum and internship, this will be an easy 5s for you. Okay, so I'm going to focus on exceeds expectations because, I would like to see you all get 5s consistently. 4s are not bad. 3s are okay, but we really do not want to see 2s or 1s. If we see 2s or 1s, that might be a need for you to consider going and talking to somebody to work through whatever issues that you might be personally having that are blocking you from getting that 3, 4, and 5. No, we're not going to be perfect all the time. We don't expect perfection. We know that Jesus Christ was the only perfect human that lived. And so last time I checked, none of us are Jesus, which is a good thing. And so we want to aim for that 5. But 4 and 3s are okay. It's kind of one of the things that I tell students all the time. When I get home from the day, I look at what went really well. Those are the 5s. What went okay? Those are the 4s. And what can I improve on? Those are the 3s. So my goal every day is to improve on those 3s, get those up to 4s, and either keep the 4s at 4s or move them up to 5s, and definitely keep the 5s at 5s. So what does a 5 look like? The counselor or trainee demonstrates strong, exceeding the expectations of a beginning professional counselor, knowledge, skills, and dispositions in the specified counseling skills, ability to facilitate therapeutic conditions, and professional disposition and behavior. So what I look at this as is you provide a safe environment. You disagree with something that the university's doing, your professors saying or doing, or that maybe even I'm saying or doing as the chair, and you provide a safe environment so that way it's a good, healthy conversation between you and whoever it is that you need to speak with. That's the professional disposition and behaviors. The meet expectations is that you are demonstrating consistent and proficient dispositions, professional dispositions and behavior. Those are the ones that we're going to focus on. So you should be able to be consistent and proficient with your ability to interact with others. Yes, life happens. Life happens for all of us. We have our bad days. And your professors understand that because they have their bad days. I definitely understand that because I know I have my bad days. The key is consistently and proficiently are you overcoming the bad days. And even if you want to yell, scream, gripe, complain, get angry, what have you, you may feel those emotions, but you handle it appropriately. You handle it how you would want somebody to handle it with you. And I'm not going to talk about 3, 2, and 1 because I'm hoping that we don't get there. But as I said, if you're getting 2s and 1s, we're probably going to sit down. Let me back that up. We're not going to probably sit down. We will sit down with you and talk with you about how we can help you grow in that area so that you, again, can be the best that you want to be in this field. Nobody gets into counseling because it's easy. We get into counseling because we want to help others. And we've seen how God has gotten us through our history and our past. And so we want to help others find that same peace and help them move forward, hopefully making less mistakes than we did. So really think about this. Think about who you want to be as a counselor. And I know that some of you are in your first class and you're sitting there thinking, but I'm not even in clinicals yet. That's okay. Your first class is your first opportunity to start building who you want to be as a counselor. And we, as your professors, we want to help grow you in that direction. Our desire is to see you achieve and succeed. So here's what CCREP says about the CCS-R. And this is part of the reason why we're using the CCS-R is because we are aligning our programs to CCREP. No, we are not CCREP certified. In the state of Texas, that is not a requirement as of yet. And so we're not there yet. But we do want to align ourselves because they do have a very high quality standard of education. And we want to align ourselves because HCU wants to put out the best counselors possible. We don't want, you to be lacking in any skills when you step out as an LPCA or LMFTA. So really take a look at this CCREP standards. You can find it online as well, because what this is going to do is help you understand why we do some of the things that we do at HCU, because even though we're not CCREP, we do want to align ourselves to a standard of high practice. Okay, so let's get into what the dispositions are specifically. Professional ethics. Adheres to the ethical guidelines of the ACA, ASCA, IAMFC, APA, and NBC, including practices within competencies. Okay, so how does this look in professional dispositions? That means you don't cheat on a test. I know that's common sense, but I'm just giving you that as an example. That means that if it's closed book, it's closed book. That includes closed notes, closed study guides, closed everything. You are taking this exam on your best knowledge. Okay? That's professional ethics. That means too, if you know of somebody who is not following that, you let your professor know and or the chair of the department know. Because if we don't know, we can't help that student grow in this particular area. Professional ethics is one of the biggest issues for why people are brought up in front of the state board and potentially lose their license. It starts minor. You may say, well, I can use my notes on this test because, nobody's going to know I'm taking it at home. I'm an online student or I'm a residential student. I'm taking it at home. And you could. That's between you and God. But somewhere down the line, that tends to grow. And it snowballs into something bigger. And then it becomes something bigger. And then it becomes something bigger. And before you know it, you've made a major professional ethical decision that could cost you your license and all of your hard work. And so you really want to get to that 5 on that one. That one, you want to keep that as at 4 or 5 because, yes, you're going to have your days where you make a bad choice. But really, if that becomes a consistent behavior for you, that's a major red flag for you. Professional behavior behaves in a professional manner towards supervisors, peers, and clients, includes appropriate dress and attitudes, able to collaborate with others. So you're in your first class. You've been at work all day. You're tired. You want to come in your sweatpants and t-shirt to class at night. Well, you have to think about, does that display the professional behavior? Does that display something of a counselor to be? I'm not saying you have to wear dresses and hose and ties and, slacks and all that. Not at all. But you want to dress a little bit more professionally. So for me, in my practice, a lot of times I'm wearing jeans, a dressy shirt, and some boots or some nicer shoes that, kind of dress up the outfit, the dressy casual look. And that makes me do my best work because I'm prepared. I've got the mindset. I'm dressed in the mindset of one who is in a professional environment. So in other words, you don't want to be wearing your crop tops, your PJs, your sweatpants, things like that constitute I'd rather be at home chilling on the couch. Again, we're trying to move you toward a professional career field. And if you've been in my 5309 class, you already know that counseling has a bad name out there. We do not need to provide it any help. We want to improve our name out there. Okay, next one. Professional and personal boundaries. Maintains appropriate boundaries with supervisors, peers, and clients. Okay, so this kind of ties in with the last one, and I'm going to go back to the last one for just a second because I did forget one part. If you have a disagreement with somebody, you are not going to like everything that your professors tell you. You're not going to like everything your site supervisor tells you. You may work for somebody that you don't like everything that they say. But there's a way to address the issue professionally. And you all know this because you've kept jobs. So you want to make sure you do that same approach in your education. So if you've got to address a professor, address the professor with respect. Kind of like your boss holds your pay in your hand, your professor holds your grade in your hand. Now, I'm not saying professors have the right to, manipulate grades because they don't like the way you talk to them. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that sometimes I think we feel like, well, I can say whatever I want to say to my professor because I don't work for them. And, if I, make them mad, oh, well, I still am in program. Whereas if I say whatever I want to say to my boss, that could cost me my job. I hope you see that relationship there. And maintaining appropriate boundaries. You're going to build relationships with your professors, as you should. And hopefully they're all positive relationships. But there's still a professionality there. They are still your superior. You are still their student. There is an imbalance there. So while we want to have a good, positive relationship with you, while we want to get to know you and know what makes you you, there's an appropriate boundary. I know some professors will invite students to lunch. I had a professor that did that every time we would have intensives. We'd have one day where the whole group would go to lunch. Well, that's fine if it's the entire group, but if it's just you and the professor, especially if you're of opposite genders, there's a potential there. So you want to make sure that you're maintaining appropriate boundaries just as much as the professor makes sure that they're obtaining appropriate boundaries. All right, I think I've harped on that one enough. So let's go to knowledge and adherence to site practice policies. Okay, so you are probably not in your clinicals yet. So this is how this is going to look for you. Adherence to class policies means when an assignment is provided, there's a reason for that assignment. You do the assignment. You may not like the assignment. You might find the assignment stupid. You may find it redundant. But you do it because there's a rhyme and a reason. All of your professors are state licensed. All of your professors have either worked or are currently working in a practice at some place. We know what's going on out there. We see what's happening out there in the field. You need to trust us. And you need to do your work. Because that's how you gain the knowledge so that you are successful on your state exams. Record keeping and task completion. Have your assignments in on time. If the deadline is Monday night at 11:59, have your assignment in Monday night by 11:59. In fact, what I try to do when I'm in the classroom as a student is I actually try to get ahead. So the deadline might be Monday night at 11:59. I'm going to have it in most likely by Friday night because I want my weekend. So I build my schedule so that way Monday through Friday I work, and Saturday and Sunday I can relax and I can just enjoy me time and self-care. And if I'm lucky, I get to just start the self-care on Friday. Some days it happens, some weeks it happens, some weeks it doesn't. But build your life, build your schedule, look at your upcoming semester and say, okay, how can I build my schedule in such a way to where I am successful? Not a successful. I want all of you guys to make A's, but an A does not mean that you're going to be successful. An A means you know how to memorize stuff for a book or for a test or to write a decent paper. I want you to know the skills so that when you get into practice, you know what you're doing. You can take the book knowledge and you can apply it, because everybody can have book knowledge, but if they can't apply it, it does no good. Take, for example, you read the Bible. You have the knowledge of the Bible. And you can tell me everything about the Bible, way more than probably I could as a minister's kid. But if you don't know how to apply the Bible to your life or to help apply it to somebody else's life, then you're not connecting. You're just jumping through the hoops because the church says we should read our Bible. Don't jump through the hoops in this program. Connect with the material. That is how you're successful. Is you connect with the material. You can see, oh, I can apply this to this situation. Oh, my friend has this situation. This would work perfectly. Don't counsel your friend. But your brain starts going in that direction because you're now taking the material and you are applying it. To me, that makes a better counselor than the ones who make straight A's. We should strive for the best of the best. We should work toward the glory of God. At the same time, we should also know how to apply that knowledge and apply it successfully. Okay, let's look at the next page. Alrighty, multicultural competencies. Demonstrates awareness, appreciation, and respect of cultural differences. Okay, guys, you may feel a certain way about a certain person or a certain culture because of things that you've been through. And that's okay that you feel that. I would highly recommend working with somebody to work that out, because chances are you're going to work a lot with cultures that are beyond your own. And you're going to have to figure out how to work through that. For example, my favorite story was me working with an atheist couple. I was raised strong Southern Baptist minister's kid. And you can infer all you want on that one because you're probably accurate. And working with an atheist, it required me to switch my views. And it required me to go at different topics in a different way. My practice is a Christian-based practice, but I couldn't be explicitly Christian with my client because they didn't believe the same thing I believed. But I could be implicitly Christian, and I could show Christ's love. And so let's swap it. Let's say you're a student that is atheist, and you're sitting in these courses learning how to integrate Christianity. I've been asked this question by several students, and they say, why do I have to learn this? Well, for one, you're at HCU, and that's one of the pillars is that, we're not only growing you in your career field, but we're also growing you spiritually. So that's number one. You chose a Christian university that is explicitly Christian. Number two is you are probably going to have Christian clients, Hindu clients, Muslim clients, Wiccan, you name it. You are probably going to have those clients. And you're going to have to figure out how to work with each of those groups and meet the level of their needs, because it's not about you. When you're in that counseling room, your views on things sometimes has to be at the door, because if you're working with somebody who's a distinctly different view from you or a distinctly different culture from you, then you have to leave your thoughts at the door and be there with that client. And so part of that is in the classroom, how that looks is being open to hear Christian approaches if you're not a Christian. As well as professors, we are open to each of our students who have different beliefs, thoughts, feelings. Okay? That's how it looks in the classroom. It's being respectful to your peers. It's showing kindness even if you don't understand, even if you don't agree. I was at a conference this weekend, and again, being raised Southern Baptist, we have certain thoughts and beliefs on certain topics. And one of the speakers prayed in the Spirit. And there's all different views on that. I have a very distinct view on that, but at the same time, it's not about me. It's about the person who's speaking and what they feel like is appropriate between them and God. See, when you're multiculturally competent, you're no longer judging either. You're loving people for who they are and understanding there are some things that are strictly between them and God, and the best thing that you can do if you're a Christian is pray. If you believe in, Hindu or Muslim, you can pray as well. Have positive thoughts, things of that nature. Okay? That one's a little bit of a difficult one, but we will get you through it. Okay? Emotionally stability and self-centered. That doesn't mean that it's all about you and you're narcissistic. Emotionally stability and self-centered means that you are focused on keeping yourself balanced. You're not living in the extremes. You are keeping yourself balanced. Even if life is falling apart around you, you are keeping yourself balanced. This one's a big one because, what tends to happen whenever you're in counseling courses is things open up. I heard it said one time that the best counseling is get a counseling degree. There's a level of truth to that, and there's a level of that is so wrong. What you need to be focused on, if you are not able to stay balanced in all areas of your life, socio-economic, spiritually, psychologically, mentally, if you are not able to stay balanced, I recommend taking some time off and getting yourself in counseling. It's going to be needed because somebody who comes in to see you, they need somebody that's balanced to help them through the situation. Next one, motivated to learn and grow into it. Initiative. Okay, so this means that you take initiative in your work. You don't wait till the last minute. You're not 2 or 3 days late. You're not, can I get an extension? Can I get an incomplete? Incompletes are going to be needed for medical-based reasons. I mean, that happens. And sometimes there's an extenuating circumstance outside of medical. But overall, you're motivated to do your work. You're motivated to do your best work. And remember, not your best work just so you can have a 4.0, but your best work so that you can learn it and apply it. Okay? And be successful. Openness to feedback. This one's a toughie. You are not always going to get positive feedback. I've been in this field 10 plus years. I don't always get positive feedback. You have the choice when you get feedback to either sulk, woe is me, get mad, get angry, yell, scream, the adult temper tantrum, essentially. Or you can take it, process it, and see if there's any truth to that. If there's no truth to that, then from your logical prefrontal cortex, you're able to respond appropriately and say, I'm not sure I agree, and here's the reasons why I'm not sure I agree. Can we discuss this further? Because I really want to understand where you're coming from and where you are seeing this. Rather than you're so wrong for doing this. I can't believe you said this. My paper is perfect. I had no mistakes whatsoever, and you gave me a 70, blah, blah, blah. We have a choice. Second option, adult temper tantrum. First option, coming from a prefrontal cortex response, logical, maturity. So you get to decide when you get that feedback. Do you throw the adult temper tantrum? Or do you respond with maturity? And I'm not saying it's always easy to respond with maturity. But take time before just responding off the cuff. Because when you're responding off the cuff, you're on the verge of the adult temper tantrum side. And that, honestly, guys, that's the clearest way I can describe that. Flexibility and adaptability. Okay, change happens. Nobody enjoys change. Well, few people enjoy change. I'm not one that likes a lot of change. I like things to be very, I know, boom, 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 this is what's going to happen. But life happens. We have to be flexible. All of us. So if your professor makes a change on where you're meeting for class, or if your professor makes a change on an assignment, be flexible with it. If you're online and you are having trouble with the link working, be flexible with it. Sometimes whenever we're developing these courses, the links are there. And then by the time you take the course, the link is now removed off the site. So we can't use it anymore. We don't always know that happens. They don't notify us. So being flexible to that and saying, hey, I can't get this link to work. And then that way we can actually do something on our end to try and find an alternative or work something out for you. But be flexible and adaptable. I will tell you, in the world of counseling, every day is going to be different. If you plan to have your day look a certain way, throw it out the window now. God likes to throw us curveballs, and I don't mean that disrespectful to God. It's just, it keeps us closer to Him, when we're not, okay, I got this, and this to do. I don't need to depend on God because I've got all this other stuff I need to do. But if I take time to just say, okay, God, you got my schedule. He's going to build it. He's going to get me through it. And yeah, there's a lot of flexibility and adaptability to that. So really practice that. It's a process. This is not something that comes easy to a lot of us. And then finally, congruence and genuineness. Be real. Don't be one way in the classroom and then another way on group meet. Don't be one way on group meet and another way in the classroom. Be real. Let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. What you say and do should be authentic. And if you're not being authentic, then you're becoming a chameleon. And when we become a chameleon, we tend to people please. And when we tend to people please, we are not working as counselors anymore. We are working on how do I make everybody happy, and it burns you out as a counselor. So again, this is one of those things that if you're struggling in this area, talk to somebody. Have you a weekly counseling session? Have you a bi-weekly, monthly, something? Talk to somebody professionally and work through these things. Don't be ashamed about doing that. I've worked with a handful of counselors as clients throughout my years. We have life that happens. I went through a situation last year, about this time last year. I ended up talking to somebody for a little bit, and it helped me get past. Things happen in our lives, and sometimes we just need that extra help. And if we are sitting there saying that counseling is important, then why are we not sitting down and talking to a counselor when we need to? Why are we so afraid as a profession to not go and seek help? See, we got to practice what we preach. If I'm telling you, hey, if you're struggling in these areas, go get counseling, guess what? I got to practice what I'm preaching. And I have to do the same thing when life happens in my world. None of us are immune to that. None of us are going to have a perfect life until we get to heaven and we're getting to worship God face to face and enjoy that peace and that tranquility. And so while we're here on earth, life is going to happen. People are going to be mean. There's a great book written back in the 80s. I had to read it for my master's program. Hurt people hurt people. And it's so true. When we're hurting, we lash out at others. So I really want you to keep this in mind as you're thinking through the CCS-R, and knowing that, your professors are checking up on this. If they feel like it's something serious, they may have you actually sign this and sit down and talk to you. But these are things that we are watching for from day one. And these are things that could keep you from moving on to your clinicals if they are severe enough, because you're not growing. And so we discussed as a department, starting from the beginning and really working with you guys on building these skills so that way you are phenomenal when you get into your clinicals, because you're prepared. We've prepared you adequately. Okay, so final part of the CCS-R is the narrative. Again, if we're sitting down and having a conversation with you, this is going to be filled out completely. You're going to sign it. Your professor's going to sign it. It's going to be added to your academic file. So that way we can address these things in a way that is appropriate. Now, let's say we see an issue, and it's one issue out of all of those issues I went through. Maybe it's multicultural competence. Then we're going to talk to you about it, but we may not actually go through the process of filling this form out. But we will talk to you about it. So please keep this in mind in your classwork. We want the best for you. We want to prepare you to be the best. We want HCU's name out there to be, oh, you're from HCU. Fantastic. I'd love to work with you. Not, oh, you're from HCU. I'm sorry, I'm full. There are universities out there that get that. I'm sorry, I'm full. I personally have certain universities that I work with and certain universities I don't. Now, before you start thinking, no, I cannot work with HCU students while they're in school because that's unethical and that's a dual relationship. But if I knew, let's say before I started working for HCU, if I had a student contact me to work with me, I would feel more comfortable because I know they're from HCU. I know the caliber and the education. So that's what we want for you guys, to be the best of the best that you can be, both spiritually and practice-wise. I hope you guys understand this, and I hope you see it as that we do want to see you reach your goals. You are always welcome to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. I'm always there. I do tend to respond within 48 hours, sometimes quicker, sometimes it takes a little longer, but do try to respond within 48 hours. And so if you ever need anything, don't hesitate. Y'all have a blessed day, and look forward to seeing you in class.